Which is more effective, stretching pre/post session?
Oh, so a pre or post?
Yeah.
Oh, post,
Well,
definitely.
Pre/post.
Well, to be fair, I think a bit of both. Like, doing a little bit of mobility is not probably going to be a bad idea before, but make sure it's the right mobility. Like, I probably wouldn't be recommending, like, static stretches, let's say, prior to a session. But at the same time, like, getting some, like, dynamic stretches, getting some, I say stretching in general, like, just actually getting blood flow to the areas that you're going to train. So, and not just to the actual area itself. Like, if you're training your chest, I've always found getting some blood flow to my upper back is never going to be a bad idea when it comes to ability to actually brace. But also understand that it's very person specific, and your needs are going to be what's actually the most important thing. Like, a coach could tell you do this, but it's like, well, you might just want to go in and train. Like, I've had some of my best deadlift sessions where I just go in and I'm like, right, I'm just deadlifting. Like, that's like the main thought. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm going to go in, maybe exercise 1 or 2, and I'm just going to fucking pull some weight from the floor. But then post session, you've got, let's say, pliability is going to be increased. There's going to be more like movement potential. But then also, you're going to be quite tired. So the last thing if you've trained legs, the last thing I'm going to be thinking of is, let me go and do 20 minutes of stretches.
Yeah,
I usually prefer it on a rest day where I can just focus on doing it in the morning, maybe after some cardio or a walk where I'm a little bit more, I've got some like water in me. I wouldn't want to do it fasted where I'm just fresh out of bed. I'd probably crack something or snap myself.
I would generally say, like, before training, warm up by doing the movements that you're going to do. Simple as that, really. Yeah, like, you don't need to be doing loads and loads of dynamic stretching. No. I think it can be a little bit like, if you've got any specifically tight areas that are causing you issues, then work on that. But I wouldn't go in, if I'm feeling 100%, I won't be like, oh, I need to do my 10 minutes of dynamic stretching. I already feel good. If you don't feel good, then yeah, sure, do it. And then post-workout, I'd be looking at potentially just one of your latter exercises, implementing a stretch, or spending longer in that lengthened position. So, like,
and maybe doing some
lengthened partials,
long length partials. Has to be.
So yeah, like at the end of a pull session, I'll do a hanging leg raise. It's like not only to train the abs, but also to spend some time in that stretch position. It's generally a movement that I quite like, just for sort of general shoulder mobility and shoulder health, but also I'm going to get a decent stretch through my lats at the end of a session. And we've got that benefit of training sort of that through stretch mediated hypertrophy, where we've said before, like, it's not going to do you any harm. Like, I wouldn't be saying, oh, I have to put in a stretch at the end of every single session. But if you can incorporate a stretch, let's say at the end of a leg session you do a quad stretch, at the end of maybe your other leg session you do a hamstring stretch, or you just do a movement at the end of the session that's really going to stretch out that body part. Generally you're going to get a lot of blood flow there, which is only going to help in terms of nutrient delivery, oxygen delivery, recovery,
especially if you use a mega pump. You've
got to use a mega pump. But like, it's not going to do you any harm. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, you must do it, but it's not going to do you any harm. If you have time at the end of a session, do a hanging stretch at the end of pull, do a quad stretch or a hamstring stretch, or both at the end of legs. You could potentially do a pec stretch or something that just lengthens the pecs. Like, for example, my last chest movement yesterday is a cable fly with a 3-second pause in the stretch. So I'm not actually doing stretches after my session, but I'm really stretching out my chest under load, which we know is going to be beneficial anyway. So yeah, like, that's kind of how I would incorporate it. And then if you have specific tight areas that are causing you problems, let's say you've got like really tight glutes or something like that, then incorporate those stretches before dynamically and after statically, or on rest days.
I think it's one of those as well. A lot of people, someone that we know, and people that have seen on Instagram and social media, a lot of people will go from the flip-flop between, like, they will spend, maybe you'll see some coaches or whatever, no need to name names, but they'll do stretches before a session and do mobility work for like 35 minutes, like 30, 40, 50 minutes, and they'll be preaching, it's a game changer. Then 6 months later, this is a waste. Like, when you get into the gym, what's going to grow muscle? Just fucking do what you want and make sure you're training hard.
Did a reel, during my prep about stretching before training, and it was like, do you need to do dynamic stretching? And I was like, well, it depends on you. Like, I was doing, do you remember, for like quite a while I was doing that 90-90 stretch through my hips. I was doing it throughout like the majority of prep because my glutes were like so tight, probably from all the steps and all the cardio. So I was doing that before my leg sessions because I felt like I needed to. Otherwise I was going into every set and it was like, everything just feels tight, my hips feel horrible. But I did that for 5 minutes before training, I felt fine. So I was doing that. Now my hips don't feel tight because I'm not doing 20,000 steps and 45 minutes cardio a day. So my hips feel pretty good. So I don't do the stretching. Like, base it on you and how you're feeling, and stop like worrying about what other people are doing. Like, again, like, if your favorite influencer or your favorite coach is doing a certain exercise or a certain stretch, doesn't mean that you have to do it.